Dark Star, is Greg Norman moving out of LIV or up? Is he moving out or is he moving up? We're going to cover that today, which is Tuesday, December 3rd. It's Cyber Week. I don't think Cyber is a Monday any longer. I think it's a whole week now to shop and get your deals for Christmas. And I have not taken advantage of any of that yet, but I'm sure you are all over the Christmas shopping. Darkstar, tell us, who cares about golf? What is on your Christmas list?
When is Christmas?
You talking about this year? This Christmas?
This year? Christmas.
I hear you. Greg may his plans
Greg
for Christmas might be a little
shopping
fluid. They might be a bit fluid for this year's Christmas. We'll see. But the rumors abound. In fact, audience, welcome audience to the Tuesday edition, to December 3rd of Thinking Man Golf. The rumors are out there to such an extent that Greg is being fired, although they don't use that word, being replaced, I think is the gist of it. That there's so many of them, everybody's reporting it. Everybody feels okay to report it now. I mean, everybody, mainstream, everybody's talking about it. Okay, fine. He's out and they got the new guy already pinpointed that used to be, he's at Merlin right now, which I know that name, Darkstar, from Legoland, actually, which is odd to me that I would even have that association. But I do. But there's so much news on it that you have to say, if you're me, Mr. Breadcrumb, why did they intentionally, LIV that is, or PIF, leak it? Why did they tell, Bob or Melanie down there in marketing or whomever that relates to the press, go talk to somebody that loves to chat and will spread this rumor like wildfire. Go tell them that we're replacing Greg. And what else do you want me to tell them? Nothing. Just that. Well, where's he going? Is he retiring? He's got another 8 months on his contract. It goes to August of this coming 2025. What's going on here? Darkstar, what's your read?
Yeah, it's like that movie with Robert De Niro. There is no B-3 bomber. Yes, tell them there's no B-3 bomber in the works. Yeah, well, my take on all that, of course, is this is, in my opinion, the last sort of olive branch to any merger with the PGA Tour. Okay, guys, we're going to let you know we're getting rid of Greg. That was the last sort of stumbling block. So if you don't come to the table with good intentions and we have things done by the first of the year, then we're going scorched earth. And that's where there's been just the chess pieces moving around the chessboard, as they say, with guys like Finau, etc. So Greg will be, quote unquote, not the CEO of LIV Golf anymore. Is he moving out? No. I mean, they're going to find a great role for him, whether it's just recruiting, whether he heads up the International League, etc. Or, not to steal your thunder, but as you mentioned, he could take a high role in PIF and just sort of run not just golf, but some of their other sports. Who knows? I mean, Greg's a very accomplished individual. He's very motivated, and he now has the whole world of golf outside of the United States on his side. There has not been one player who's playing for LIV Golf that has had a derogatory thing to say about Greg Norman. Every time you pick up a magazine and they interview somebody, Greg's put in the time. Greg has made golf great around the world. Greg has financially benefited golf and golfers greater than any other human being ever in the history of the world. So
well, let's spend a minute there. I wasn't going to mention that today because I didn't think of it, but let's just spend at least 1 minute there. Who besides Greg Norman has enriched the modern golfer more? The modern golfer, not 25 years ago when Tiger came along.
Well, obviously, nobody's even close. And the funny thing is, even if you think about Scotty Scheffler, who is not at the Tomorrow Golf League, for example, he made like $60 million. Scotty's got to be like, yeah, I can't say that I'm a big fan of Greg Norman, but I'm a big fan of Greg Norman.
Unless you're retarded, you have to be.
Yeah. And by the way, Scotty's wife is really a big fan of Greg Norman.
Absolutely. I mean, if they want to go build a nonprofit, faith-based initiative to do whatever, they can do. They can do whatever they really want in their probably limited vision of the world, because they never thought they would have $100 million to do something.
Yeah.
So now they do. Thank you, Greg Norman and Phil Mickelson. Greg's vision, Phil shares that vision now. He has a little bit different motivation. Well, not a little. I would say Phil's motivation is very different than Greg's. Greg just wants the best of the best around the world to play around the world because it's a global game.
Yeah.
There, I said it for you, Greg. That's your cocktail conversation. It's a global game. I want the best of the best to play all over the world because it's a global game.
Right.
Now, Gary Player should be singing his praises as well. You would think, because he feels that way too.
Yeah, and let me just say, if you are a golf fan and you don't look at the LIV schedule every week and see the guys that are playing versus at the PGA Tour regular events, if you don't say that the LIV Golf has better quality now, then your eyes aren't open.
Yeah, you're trying to believe something that isn't true because you just desperately want to believe it. And people do that all the time. They delude themselves. You're lying to yourself. Well, anyway, I didn't want to spend a whole lot of time on that. But Greg has made everybody rich. He's made them very wealthy. But not he's not obviously coming out of his pocket with it. I don't mean to say that. You know what I mean. He's put together the idea that caused all of this money to flow into the sport temporarily because it's not that big of a sport, and they have all this outsized money that's not really in proportion to what it's worth, which is goofy. And thank you, Greg Norman. So all this tripe about Greg this, Greg that, and I'm still waiting, Dave Dark. So I'm still waiting for somebody to explain to me why, quote unquote, Greg is so hated. I don't believe that for 1 second, but everybody wants to just say that. It's like Kamala Harris is the most popular person ever. Yeah? Why would that be? I mean, forget whether I believe it or not. Tell me what logic supports that point of view. She's never won an election. Not even close. She was the first person out in the primary, blah, blah, blah. So it just doesn't make sense to me that Greg Norman, I understand sort of why Tiger Woods doesn't like Greg Norman, although that's not crystal clear to me. I just don't think Tiger likes anybody that has talent and ability. I think Tiger likes to be the big cat in the room at all times because he has no relationship with Nicklaus, not really. He liked Palmer, but I think they sort of saw eye to eye on, the opposite sex. And how you kind of run your life that way. But, Palmer was a swaggering pirate of a stud and a great guy and all that. And I think Tiger liked that a lot. But other than that, I can't think of anybody that Tiger has said, he looks up to. He's never even said that about Palmer as far as I know. But
right. And I think when you talk about why is Greg, quote unquote, hated, you had the Palmer influence, obviously, when he tried to create a world tour and Arnie shut him down. You had some innuendo when he was playing that he wasn't the nicest guy. You had the fact that he just never backed off Mark McCumber when he said he cheated.
He destroyed his career, in fact.
And then you take it forward to the modern generation where Tiger hates Greg Norman for whatever reason. So you had that permeation throughout golf. Palmer on one time frame, Tiger on the other time frame. That has just made it easy. And let's face it, you got to hate some. This is the way these guys are. You got to hate somebody.
It's probably if you love Tiger,
you got to hate somebody.
It's probably as simple as basic tour politics, which is, Tiger, we want to be in his circle, at least, so to speak. He's not going to bring us over to the house or anything. But, when Tiger walks to the locker room, we want to be able to wave and shake his hand or something if we're another tour player.
Yeah,
and if we say we hate Greg, that'll help.
Right. And despite all of Tiger's transgressions, all the young players still love him. It's crazy to me. I don't understand it.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know about all, but yeah, well, we know how deep certain athletes are. Not so much. But we're getting on to the back to the headline. Is he moving out or moving up? Well, I will delay no longer. He's moving up. He's moving up. I'm not clear. It's not clear to me because I don't have a listening device and a camera in the back room watching Yasser make this deal happen. But why would he want Greg out? I discount what you said, which is he's throwing a nod to the PGA Tour Enterprises. I don't think they asked for that. Not in that way, anyhow. I think Yasser wants Greg doesn't want Greg to go, first off. Secondly, if he needs to do that for some reason, then fine. But it wouldn't shock me that it was Yasser's idea. Like, yeah, there's some friction with the players. I'll just do that because, frankly, I've been thinking for a while. I can see the conversation over tea in Riyadh when Greg was there, when Jay was there just recently, right? He's there. That's another part of the story. I haven't brought it in yet. I guess I did just now. Greg was there. If Greg's being fired so that Jay can run the show, and they're just bringing in a regular functionary, sort of a COO type of guy. And what's the guy's name, Darkstar? Have you looked it up? The 76ers guy, the Merlin guy.
Oh,
Is it
Scott
Brian or Scott?
something or
Is
other.
it Scott? I thought it was Brian or Scott. So let's call him Scott. But look for that right this second while I'm pontificating.
Okay.
So the new guy is more of an operational guy. I think that's abundantly clear. He's not a visionary. He's not that kind of CEO. So he's a blocking and tackling kind of guy. Just get the organized, keep keep the gears turning, keep everything lubricated, just keep moving it on down the road, and in a highly efficient way. But he's not the guy to go negotiate massive TV deal. He's not the guy to go talk to the PGA Tour Enterprise Group. That's not him.
Right.
He doesn't have
Right.
any kind of track record like that. So
And I think it was easy. Let me interject here. It was easy for Greg to make this move now because LIV Golf is now where they want it to be.
well,
It's
yeah,
an
yeah.
established league. It's not going anywhere. They've got the players on their side. They've got the schedule to match up with the PGA and do whatever they want. So yeah, it's named Scott O'Neill. He's just
Scott.
going to move in and he's going to literally just run LIV Golf.
Yes. Oh,
He's not-
clearly that.
Right. He's not going to do deals and create situations with the International League or the DP or say, hey, well, if the PGA is screwing us over, we're going
Now he
head to head
is a
against
guy.
the Genesis.
I'll bring in. There's another big piece to what I was saying, and then I'll pivot back to why Scott, because that's interesting too, given his resume. But where's Greg going then? As got on to, I think Yasser went to Greg, had tea when he was over there, which would give him another reason to fly all the way to Saudi Arabia, not to see Jay Monahan and have a meal with Jay Monahan. No, he wouldn't do that. But he would go over there to be part of some conversation with Jay Monahan and Yasser in a separate private meeting. So there's meeting with three of them. What maybe it was a business meeting and no social. Maybe it was both social and business, or maybe it was all social. Who knows? We can do a show about that. In fact, we should probably. But Greg then has his own meeting with Yasser, and the meeting goes like this: Greg, I want you to move up and be my executive director of golf for Golf Saudi, not PIF, but Golf Saudi, because that's the umbrella organization. I think you're going to take that role, and if you'll take it. I'd like you to take that job. I want you to think about it, and here's what the job really is. I need you to look over, our massive growth in golf here in the kingdom. We want golf courses, we want tourism, we want all that, and there's nobody better than you to do that kind of development, to look over it, because I don't have anybody else that understands golf like you do. Obviously, my people here that are Arabians, that are Arabs, they don't get that. So you need tourism from Europe, tourism from America, so far as we get it, Southeast Asia. We want Australians here. That's part of it. The other big part is I need you to keep an eye on this joint operation that we're going to have, this JV with PGA Tour Enterprises, and you've shaped that and la. But I need you to be chatting with whomever over at the board over there at SSG or Fenway. How do you and John Henry get along? La. That's what I need. Those two jobs. We can talk about the details. But tomorrow or the next day, think about it if you need to. I appreciate that, and we'll talk. And I think Greg went, well, if you need me to do that, I'll do that. What are we going to do down at LIV? And that is a simple answer, which is, well, we need somebody just to run the machine, drive the truck for this new JV that we're doing. And that's just blocking and tackling. And is he going to report to me or is he going to report to you? Because Greg reports to Yasser directly, as far as I've ever seen, which is weird. I mean, that's, he's skipping over multiple layers to get that kind of relationship with one of the world's most important business people, Yasser Al-Rumayyan. So the Scott can't report to Yasser. Would you agree, Darkstar?
Yeah, you're probably right in that. Now that you put it in that context, I think Scott's going to report to Greg.
Correct. He can't report to Yasser. Let me say that again.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have said it at the top of the show, but
Yeah.
I'm talking through it as I'm talking through it here. Can Scott O'Neill report to Yasser Al Ramayan? And we've looked at, this is not a slight on you, Scott. I've looked at your CV. We've seen where you've been, this and that, and where you are at Merlin. We'll leave it right there for this free preview of our Inner Circle podcast. Please join us. Click the upgrade button in the email you received or on the podcast page and get the rest of this episode and all our Inner Circle shows right here on the Thinking Man Inner Circle podcast.